And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're going to talk about a couple things regarding the San Francisco 49ers. Another topic that I've talked about a lot, and others on the GSMC Sports Network too, is the Brandon Aiyuk trade rumors. So I know there's some people that believe that maybe he will be traded during the draft. I know when I was coming home from work last night, I heard on the radio, at least where I am, the possibility of that happening. I don't know. It's tough to say, but when you have Brandon Ayuk posting things on social media, and it seems like things are a little rocky right now. But again, we'll see what happens. I don't think that's going to happen, and if it does, again, it gives us something to talk about. But there is that possibility that he could be traded. Um, they are still far apart on a contract extension. He's set to become an unrestricted free agent in 2025. They reached out to at least one general manager in early April to gauge interest in trading for Aiyuk. And I talked about Aiyuk's 2023 season, 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns, played in all 16 games, had a great season. And I don't know. It's tough to say whether he will be traded or not, because you have John Lynch saying that they want to keep him, obviously, and I think they're going to do everything they can. But at the same time, it's like, well, maybe they do end up trading him. Because I did see an article that there's one. Now here's the thing. I think it's one anonymous general manager said that. Yeah, one general manager believes a potential trade for San Francisco wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk is very much in play ahead of Thursday's draft. Now it doesn't specify what general manager said that. So, how do we know if that's true or not? General manager said the trade was possible because of the 49ers and Aiyuk are far apart on a contract extension. Aiyuk is currently set to become an unrestricted free agent, like I said, in 2025. Now, this is according to Michael Silver of the San Francisco Chronicle. And this is what Silver wrote. All I know is that as of Monday night, when I posed the question to a 49ers source with direct knowledge of the team's plans, the words I kept hearing were, anything's possible. Okay, well, that is true. Anything is possible. And according to Silver, the 49ers previously reached out to at least one general manager in early April to talk about an Aiyuk trade, which I mentioned. Now, part of that reasoning is because Silver's reporting that the 49ers' recent negotiations stalled partly because this is considered a receiver-rich draft. So, maybe they could trade him and use the picks to draft his replacement. That's definitely possible. I mean, you saw the Titans did that, basically. They traded A.J. Brown, they drafted Treylon Burks. That really hasn't panned out because now they brought in DeAndre Hopkins and then most recently Calvin Ridley. But still, that was a mistake. They should have kept A.J. Brown. But, we've seen this happen. And maybe the 49ers do that because that does make sense. And in the article here, it mentions teams like the Cardinals who need a wide receiver, which I don't think they would. See, I keep saying that, but it could definitely. I mean, who knows? You got the Cardinals who need receivers. You got the Giants. I would love for him to go to the Giants, but I don't think that's going to happen. The Falcons, the Colts, and the Bills. Those are teams that they got listed that kind of need some wide receivers. Well, I don't know, but I mean, the Falcons could maybe use another receiver. But I feel like the Bills could definitely. I would probably put the Bills ahead of them. The Colts, the Giants definitely. The Giants need help at receiver, and Brandon Aiyuk would instantly become the number one wide receiver there. But also, Ian Rappaport said he wouldn't be surprised if Aiyuk can receive a more lucrative contract extension from another team. I mean, and that could definitely happen. It's tough though because I said this before. They got players that they gotta sign other than Ayuk. So again, it's like the Cowboys too. Are you gonna be able to keep everybody? Probably not. I mean, we'll see with the Cowboys, but the 49ers, yeah. I mean, you got players on offense, on defense that you're not going to be able to keep everyone. I mean, they had to let Eric Armstead go. He went to Jacksonville. And I think that loss is going to hurt a little bit on defense. And I think if they lose Aiyuk, that there's going to be some growing pains there because he was a big target for Brock Purdy. And if you end up losing him, this wide receiver group in this draft is loaded, but losing Aiyuk is in the short term, it's going to hurt. So we'll see if it ends up happening. Again, it would be crazy if it does because again, we've had trades like the AJ Brown trade happen on draft night. So who's to say it doesn't happen with Brandon Aiyuk? Who's to say that T. Higgins doesn't get traded either? But it seems like that resolved itself because I know I did a segment on that. But the other thing I wanted to talk about too is John Lynch talking about the Trey Lance stuff. So, the 49ers, they gave up draft capital to go and get Trey Lance. This was back in 2021. Get him at 3. And that really didn't pan out. Trey Lance got hurt. And, Garoppolo had to take over. And then Garoppolo gets hurt 2 years ago now. And, almost 2 years ago now. And then Brock Purdy has to come in. So it just really didn't work out. And this is kind of what he had to say, John Lynch. He said, I think, first of all, we have an ownership that's very supportive, and they support us greatly. Jed, John, Denise, Jenna, Mara, York, they believe in Kyle and I and our leadership, and they believe what we think something's going to make us better. When we think something is going to make us better, they say go for it, and they don't give us a lot of restrictions there, and that's comforting to know. We can go be bold and do things like that. And yeah, we gave up a lot. We did it for reasons that we had and motivations, and it didn't work out. But thank God for Mr. Irrelevant, meaning Brock Purdy. He helped us. I always am careful of this because Trey Lance's story hasn't been written yet. He's in Dallas right now, and I still think Trey's got good football in him. We'll see. That will play out. But I think also the freedom when you've done something and you feel like maybe it can improve us to move on. We aren't beholden to, we drafted the guy. We've just got to stick it out. We can do the things we want to do. And I think that served us well. And people can comment on the thought process that went into it. We certainly study it, say what went wrong or what went right, what went wrong. And we do that with all of our picks. But I think we're in a really good place as a football team, as an organization. And we've got to find a way to get a little bit better, and that's the focus of this whole offseason, and this draft is an awesome opportunity to just do that. Now, I don't know how much better the 49ers can get because, look at the players that they have, and look at the team that they have. I still look at them as the best team in the NFC, and they got all the way to the Super Bowl after a couple of years of not getting there, getting to the NFC Championship game still, but losing. They finally get back to the Super Bowl again against that same team, and that same team unfortunately beat them. So I don't know how much better the 49ers can get. But again, they are a well-run organization. They really have turned it around after some rough years. In between the Harbaugh era and then the Shanahan era, there were some rough years. And now they're back to being a Super Bowl contender. And they're trying to get it done. And but again, I don't know how much better the 49ers can get, really. On defense, there's some things that they could definitely improve. The run defense was not very good in the playoffs. They stepped up in the Super Bowl. They were better, but against the Packers and against the Lions, wasn't very good. So I know, and especially losing Eric Armstead. Now, that's tough. That's a tough loss. And I think also the back end, I know Ufanga, he got hurt last year, so getting him back is big. But, the secondary could probably use a little bit of work, which I think they'll maybe draft someone for the secondary in this draft. But that, at least on defense, that's what I see. On offense, well, if they trade Aiyuk, then you probably would go after another receiver in this draft. Maybe offensive line. But I know people say, well, you should draft a new quarterback because Brock Purdy's not the answer, but that's not going to happen. Brock Purdy's the guy. And then the last thing I have here that John Lynch said, I think you're always thinking about that position. Now, this is talking about because they asked him about uh, Brock Purdy's contract extension and all that. Um, I think you're always thinking about that position, and to know we have an answer there and a really good one, that's comforting. It allows us just to go and build around him and make our team stronger, and I think very highly of our roster. I mean, how could you not? What we have, I think it's going to be hard for these young kids to come in and make a mark, but there's good players, and that's our job to find that because you have to have that. As many of our players as we've paid, you have to rely on rookie contracts, and so we need to infuse all those things that I said earlier, and we need some players to come out of this draft because they're going to be playing next year and into the future, and that's the opportunity there. Yeah, I mean, with Brock Purdy still on his rookie deal, I mean, you gotta win, you gotta try to win a Super Bowl because that clock is ticking, and once he has to get paid, then some of the other guys that you have around him, you're not gonna be able to keep all of them. So that is very important. But yeah, I mean, the 49ers roster is one of the best rosters in the NFL. But again, I don't know how much better they can get because they're just that good. I mean, again, if you look, can you get a better quarterback than Brock Purdy? I mean, like if you got, you traded for like a top QB and put them in there, would they be able to beat the Chiefs? I mean, because I don't even think Brock Purdy played that bad in the Super Bowl. I know some people say he didn't play that good. I thought he played okay. I don't think he's the reason they lost, but he's the guy. He's the guy moving forward. I know there's some people that are going to say he's not, but he is. And like John Lynch said, thank God for Mr. Irrelevant because if he didn't step in and do as good of a job as he did after Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt filling in for Trey Lance back in 2022, well, who knows who knows what happens with the 49ers? Well, I think probably what ends up happening is Trey Lance probably gets another shot. But I think because they fell in love with Brock Purdy, they were like, all right, well, Garoppolo, thank you for your time here. We're going to let you go somewhere else. Trey Lance, we're going to trade you away. And they're like, Brock Purdy's the guy moving forward. So, and you know what? He's done a nice job. Do I look at him as, an elite quarterback? No, but he's done the job. And whether you have your doubts about him or not, I mean, making it to the NFC Championship game and then making it to the Super Bowl the following season, I don't think that's bad. And you can't say, well, anybody could do it, which is not true. I mean, again, you can have your doubts on Brock Purdy, but listen, he was his first 2 years, what he's been able to accomplish. I mean, you got to give him some credit, even if you're not a big fan of his. So, all right. So before we go into our next break, I just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is GSMCPodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is GSMCPodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So when we come back from our second break of the show, we will talk about the Arizona Cardinals and them getting trade offers ahead of the NFL draft, whether they're going to trade down or stay at the number 4 pick. We'll get into all that, some draft stuff, when we come back from our second break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.